In the vastness of the Andromeda cluster, the name Kraz Vor'tek wasn't spoken so much as whispered. Not out of respect, but out of a primal fear that somehow the mere mention might summon him. The galaxy's deadliest assassin had a reputation that transcended star systems and species barriers: 3 tentacles, 6 eyes, and a kill count higher than most sentient beings could count without a calculator. Target eliminated Kraz reported into his neural transmitter, watching as the Plutonian diplomat's body dissolved into a puddle of goo. Another clean job. Another perfect hit. The guild's response came immediately. Excellent work, Executive Vor'tek. Funds transferred. Your efficiency rating remains unmatched. Kraz didn't bother responding. Compliments were irrelevant. In his 15-cycle career, he'd ended the existence of everything from corrupt politicians to rival guild members who'd gotten too ambitious. His unique genetic modifications, acid-secreting skin pores, retractable bone blades, and the ability to metabolize nearly any toxin made him the perfect killing machine. Last cycle alone, he'd famously eliminated an entire Jovian crime syndicate during their annual hibernation feast. The media called it the Dreaming Massacre, the guild called it exemplary resource management. Kraz called it Tuesday. His neural con pinged again as he boarded his stealth cruiser. New assignment, Priority Alpha. Kraz's 6 eyes blinked in sequential order, a rare display of surprise. Priority Alpha meant serious credits. It meant serious risk. It meant someone very important wanted someone very important dead. Details he commanded, setting coordinates for the guild headquarters. 6 hours later, Kraz sat in Guildmaster Krell's office, tentacles twitching with barely contained irritation. Earth. You're sending me to Earth, his voice, like gravel in a garbage disposal, betrayed his disgust. That primitive backwater? What could possibly warrant my talents there? Guildmaster Krell, a gelatinous mass of sentient protoplasm, pulsed with amusement. The target is of particular interest. A human who has acquired sensitive information that could destabilize interstellar relations. Kraz scoffed. Humans barely understand their own solar system, let alone interstellar politics. This one does. Krell's surface rippled as data projected from within his translucent body. Harrison Miller. Former astronaut, now running some kind of beverage establishment. Our intelligence suggests he obtained quantum encryption codes during an unexplained encounter with a Centaurian diplomatic vessel. Kraz absorbed the information, already formulating 16 potential elimination scenarios. Time frame: 10 Earth days. Any longer and we risk exposure. Your payment will be substantial. Krell pulsed once more. And Kraz, the High Council insists on discretion. Earth is not officially part of the Galactic Federation. First contact protocols apply. So, no mass extinctions. Understood. Kraz stood, bone blades briefly protruding from his forearms before retracting. I'll be in and out before they even realize I was there. Just another unexplained disappearance in their endless news cycle. As his stealth cruiser broke orbit 6 hours later, Kraz reviewed Earth's atmospheric composition, cultural briefs, and basic physiology of the target species. Pathetically fragile creatures, single respiratory system, no backup organs. Completely dependent on consistent temperatures and pressures. This would be the easiest 10 million credits he'd ever earned. Kraz had no way of knowing that Earth contained the one substance in the universe capable of derailing his perfect record. And it was brewing, even now, in a small coffee shop in Seattle. Kraz's ship touched down in a forested area outside Seattle, cloaking technology ensuring no human satellites would detect the intrusion. After activating his holo-disguiser technology that made him appear as an unremarkable human male in a dark suit, he made his way into the city. Target location identified. Kraz muttered to himself, observing the quaint storefront with the sign reading Cosmic Brews. What a ridiculous name. Humans and their obsession with space, when they knew absolutely nothing about it. He'd planned to spend the day observing from across the street, studying Harrison Miller's patterns before determining the optimal elimination method. Simple reconnaissance. Then it started raining. Water. Falling from the sky. Disgusting. The holo disguise wasn't waterproof, an oversight he'd be reporting to Guild Engineering upon his return. With no choice but to seek shelter or risk exposure, Kraz reluctantly entered the establishment he'd been surveilling. A bell chimed as he entered. The interior was worn, filled with strange aromas that overwhelmed his enhanced olfactory receptors. Humans sat at various tables, staring at primitive data devices or engaging in pointless conversation. "Welcome to Cosmic Brews. What can I get you?" Kraz turned to face the voice. Behind a counter stood a human female with purple-tinted hair and an expression that suggested profound boredom. A name tag read Mia. "I require nothing," Kraz stated flatly. Mia raised an eyebrow. "Look, buddy, this isn't a rain shelter. You want to stay, you gotta buy something." Kraz blinked, confused by her lack of intimidation. Didn't she sense the danger? On 17 different planets, beings trembled at his mere presence, even when disguised. "Fine. Provide me with your least offensive sustenance." Mia snorted. "Coming right up, sunshine. How about a plain black coffee to match that personality?" Before Kraz could respond, she was already preparing the beverage. He took the opportunity to scan the room. No sign of Harrison Miller. Perhaps this was merely a property he owned, managed by subordinates. "$4.50, Mia said, sliding a steaming cup toward him. Kraz pulled out the local currency he'd synthesized and placed it on the counter. He took the cup and moved to a corner table with strategic sightlines to both the entrance and back exit. For appearances, he raised the cup to his lips and took a small sip. Time stopped. But his 6 eyes, hidden behind the holographic disguise, widened simultaneously. His tentacles, carefully concealed, writhed involuntarily. Every sensory receptor in his engineered body fired at once. The taste was indescribable, bitter yet somehow pleasant. Complex flavors his advanced palate could dissect into exactly 342 distinct chemical compounds, none of which should logically combine to create something so captivating. "First time with coffee?" Mia asked, smirking as she wiped down the counter. Kraz stared at the cup. "What is this substance?" he demanded, forgetting momentarily about his cover. "Just our house blend." "Nothing special," she tilted her head. "You okay there? You look like you're having some kind of religious experience." Kraz took another sip. Then another. Within minutes, the cup was empty, and the most feared assassin in the galaxy was experiencing something entirely new. He was experiencing cravings. 3 Earth days later, Kraz had established what humans would call a routine each morning. He'd arrive at Cosmic Brews exactly at 8:17 a.m., order increasingly complex coffee concoctions, and sit at the same corner table. His mission logs, typically meticulous, now contained more detailed analyses of coffee varieties than surveillance notes. "Back again, Mr. 3 Sugars Extra Shot," Mia called out as the bell chimed his arrival. "Let me guess, you're feeling adventurous today. Caramel macchiato." "Is that superior to yesterday's consumption?" Kraz asked, still struggling with casual human dialogue. Mia snorted. "Depends on your definition of superior. It's sweeter. Less sophisticated, if you ask me. Then I shall avoid it. Provide the most sophisticated option available." "Such a weirdo," Mia muttered. But with what Kraz was beginning to recognize as affection. 1 pour over coming up. That'll be 6.25. As she prepared his drink, Kraz's neural con pinged insistently. He'd been ignoring guild check-ins for 48 hours. Status report required immediately. Executive Vor'tek came Guild Master Krell's impatient transmission. Target elimination timeframe is exceeding protocol parameters. Kraz sub-vocalized his response. Surveillance ongoing. Target is heavily guarded. Proceeding with caution. This was, of course, a complete fabrication. Harrison Miller was about as heavily guarded as a space slug. In fact, the man had walked right past Kraz twice already, even stopping once to comment on the interesting weather we're having. Kraz had simply nodded, too entranced by his Ethiopian single-origin pour-over to bother poisoning the man. "Your coffee enlightenment continues," Mia said, sliding the mug across the counter. "By the way, the owner wants to meet you." Kraz nearly dropped his drink. "The owner?" "Yeah, Harrison. Says you've been in every day this week and he likes to know his regulars." She lowered her voice. "Especially the ones who stare at him whenever he walks through." Kraz froze. His surveillance had been detected. This complicated matters. "Oh look, there he is now." Mia waved toward the back. "Hey Harrison, your admirer's here." A grey-haired man in his 50s emerged from the back office, smiling warmly. Kraz's assassination protocols activated automatically, calculating 17 different ways to eliminate the target using just the coffee cup in his hand. "So you're the coffee enthusiast Mia's been telling me about." Harrison extended his hand. "Always nice to meet someone who appreciates the craft." Kraz stared at the outstretched hand, recalling his briefing on human customs. Reluctantly, he took it, careful not to secrete any toxins through his skin. "Your establishment provides acceptable beverages," Kraz stated flatly. Harrison laughed. "High praise indeed. Mia says you're not from around here." "Correct. I am from far away." "Well, any friend of coffee is a friend of mine. Your next drink's on the house." As Harrison walked away, Kraz's neural comm pinged again. "We're sending Supervisor Drix to assess your progress. Arrival in 24 hours. Failure to eliminate target by then will result in reassignment." In guild terminology, reassignment meant one thing: Kraz himself would become someone else's target. The most feared assassin in the galaxy looked down at his coffee, then at Harrison's retreating back, and for the first time in his career, felt something resembling indecision. "So, you're telling me humans voluntarily consume this alcohol substance to deliberately impair their cognitive functions?" Kraz asked, watching Mia wipe down the espresso machine after closing time. Somehow, he'd started staying late to learn about coffee preparation, a transparent excuse even to himself. "It's called having fun," Mia explained, rolling her eyes. "Something you might want to try between all those intense staring sessions and writing in your weird notebook." "I do not require fun. I require efficiency." And Kraz stopped mid-sentence as the front door rattled. 3 large men in dark clothing were attempting to force the lock. "Oh great," Mia sighed. "Those guys again. 3rd time this month. Harrison won't pay their protection money, so they keep threatening to trash the place." Kraz observed the situation with professional interest. "This is a primitive extortion scheme." "Yeah, welcome to small business ownership in America," Mia grumbled, reaching for her phone. "I'll call the cops again, but they'll be gone before." The door burst open. The largest human stormed in, flanked by his associates. "The place is closed," Mia called out, remarkably calm. "Can't you read the sign?" Funny, the leader sneered. "We're not here for coffee. Where's Miller? We've got a message for him." What happened next occurred so quickly that Mia would later struggle to describe it to the bewildered police. One moment, Kraz was standing beside her; the next, all 3 men were on the ground, moaning in pain, with not a single piece of furniture disturbed. "You have delivered your message," Kraz stated flatly, straightening his suit. "Now depart." The thugs scrambled out the door, one of them screaming something about the guy having freaky eyes and tentacles. Mia stared at Kraz. Her mouth opened and closed several times before she managed, "Your disguise is glitching." Kraz looked down. Indeed, parts of his holographic disguise were flickering, revealing glimpses of his true form. "Well," Mia said, crossing her arms, "that explains the weird syntax and why you put salt in your coffee yesterday thinking it was sugar." "I can explain," Kraz began, calculating the probability he'd need to eliminate her as a witness. "Let me guess. Alien assassin sent to kill Harrison." When Kraz's eyes widened, she snorted. "Please, you've been staring at him for days, and you literally just threw those guys around like ragdolls. I've seen enough sci-fi to connect the dots." Before Kraz could respond, his neural comm activated, projecting a holographic image of Supervisor Drix, a 7-foot insectoid with mandibles that clicked disapprovingly. "Executor Vor'tek. Your mission status is unacceptable." Drix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "I have arrived on Earth and will rendezvous us at your location." And the insectoid noticed Mia staring directly at the hologram. "Is that the target?" "No," Kraz replied. "This is a complicated situation." "Who's the bug?" Mia asked, showing a remarkable lack of surprise or fear. "That's my supervisor," Kraz said. Mia nodded, as if this explained everything. "Coffee shop management is basically the same everywhere in the universe, always breathing down your neck." Supervisor Drix's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Executor, explain yourself immediately." For the first time in his career, Kraz Vor'tek, the galaxy's deadliest assassin, was completely at a loss for words. Supervisor Drix's arrival at Cosmic Brews could only be described as spectacularly unsubtle. Despite Kraz's warnings about maintaining a low profile, the insectoid supervisor had chosen a holographic disguise that made him look like a 7-foot-tall human in a trench coat with sunglasses. At night. Indoors. "You have 12 Earth hours to complete your mission," Executor Vor'tek Drix clicked, mandibles visibly moving beneath the poorly calibrated hologram. "The guild does not tolerate failure." Kraz's 6 eyes blinked sequentially beneath his own disguise. "The situation has evolved." Drix's antennae twitched, causing his holographic hair to wave unnaturally. "The target possesses sensitive information. The target must be eliminated. This is not complex mathematics, Executor." Mia, who had been watching this exchange with fascination while pretending to mop the same spot for 10 minutes, finally intervened. "Excuse me, Mr. Giant Insect Guy. Can I ask what exactly Harrison is supposed to have done?" Drix turned, clearly affronted. "This human knows of our existence?" "Executor, this compounds your failure." "Actually," Kraz said, "she may provide valuable intelligence." "Yeah, I provide intelligence around here all the time," Mia quipped. "So what's this information Harrison supposedly has?" Drix hesitated, then projected a holographic image from his ocular ridge. The human Harrison Miller possesses quantum encryption codes from a Centaurian diplomatic vessel. Codes that could compromise galactic security. Mia burst out laughing. "Harrison? The same guy who can't remember his Facebook password and writes all his login info on sticky notes. That Harrison." "Sticky notes?" Kraz asked. Mia sighed, grabbing her keys. "Come on, both of you. Let me show you something." 20 minutes later, they stood in Harrison's office, where Mia pointed to a bulletin board covered in yellow paper squares. "There. Your super-secret space codes." On one sticky note, scrawled in barely legible handwriting, was a string of numbers and symbols labeled "Weird Sequence" from that UFO dream. "He thinks it was a dream," Mia explained. "The night that Centaurian's ship had engine trouble and landed behind the shop. Harrison made them coffee. They got chatty. He thought it was all a caffeine-induced hallucination." Kraz and Drix exchanged looks. "The information must still be contained," Drix insisted. "The target must be." Or Mia interrupted. "We could remove the sticky note, and you could tell your bosses the mission was completed. Harrison thinks it was a dream anyway. Problem solved." Deception. Drix's mandibles clicked furiously. "The guild requires proof of elimination." "So we fake it," Mia shrugged. "I've got stage blood from last Halloween and Harrison's DNA is probably all over that coffee mug he never washes." Kraz found himself impressed. The human displays tactical thinking worthy of guild training. "I worked in customer service for 6 years," Mia replied dryly. "You learn to solve problems creatively, or you don't survive." Drix loomed over them both. "Executor Vor'tek, your final decision? Complete your mission legitimately, or face the consequences of failure." Kraz looked at the sticky note, then at his half-empty coffee cup. For the first time in 15 cycles, the galaxy's deadliest assassin had something he valued more than his perfect record. "Transmitting proof of target elimination now," Kraz announced, sending the doctored evidence to guild headquarters. The images featuring a surprisingly convincing dead Harrison, thanks to Mia's theatrical makeup skills and DNA samples from Harrison's favorite mug, were accompanied by a detailed mission report that was 90% fabricated and 10% coffee review. Supervisor Drix hovered anxiously, mandibles clicking in doubt. "The guild masters are thorough. If they detect deception." "They won't," Mia assured him, wiping stage blood from her hands. "Trust me, I once convinced my manager I was 2 different employees so I could double my shifts. This is nothing." The neural comm pinged. Guildmaster Krell's gelatinous form appeared in holographic projection. "Evidence received and verified, Executor Vor'tek. Most efficient." However, Kraz tensed. Had they detected the deception? We are curious about this coffee substance mentioned 14 times in your report. You describe it as a beverage of significant tactical value and potential strategic importance to guild operations. Mia shot Kraz a look that clearly said, "Really?" Indeed, Kraz replied smoothly. The substance contains a unique combination of compounds that enhance cognitive function while providing sustained energy. It could revolutionize guild operations if properly implemented. Krell's surface rippled with interest. The High Council would like samples for analysis. And what did you call it? A barista to demonstrate proper preparation techniques. Mia's eyes widened. Are you saying you want me to? She is unavailable, Kraz interjected quickly. However, I have acquired sufficient expertise to serve as Earth's official coffee ambassador to the Galactic Federation. Drix's mandibles clicked in shock. Executor, you cannot possibly suggest abandoning your guild duties to become a beverage diplomat. On the contrary, Kraz replied, I propose establishing a new guild division, strategic refreshment operations. The diplomatic and intelligence gathering potential is significant. Krell's fawn pulsated thoughtfully. The High Council will consider your proposal. Return to headquarters with samples immediately. After the transmission ended, Mia stared at Kraz. Did you just create a new job so you could keep drinking coffee? Tactical adaptation is my specialty, Kraz replied, the corners of his mouth twitching in what might have been his first attempt at a smile. 3 Earth years later, Cosmic Brews had become the unlikely nexus of interplanetary relations. The small Seattle coffee shop now featured a discreet diplomatic entrance for non-human visitors, while Harrison Miller, blissfully unaware of how close he'd come to assassination, had become the wealthiest coffee supplier in human history. The Regelian ambassadors loved the dark roast, Mia reported, sliding a datapad across to Kraz, but the Andromedans are still complaining it's too acidic for their third digestive tract. Kraz, now sporting a more refined holographic disguise complete with a tailored barista apron, nodded thoughtfully. Adjust the roasting time by 7 seconds and reduce grind size by 0.2 millimeters. Behind them, Supervisor Drix, now Chief of Quality Assurance for Strategic Refreshment Operations, was carefully explaining the concept of a macchiato to a delegation of crystalline entities from the Crab Nebula. The Guild's deadliest assassin had found a new purpose. His kill count had been replaced by customer satisfaction ratings. His bone blades now precisely sliced biscotti. And his mission reports, once clinical descriptions of eliminations, were now passionate essays on flavor profiles and optimal brewing temperatures. As Kraz steamed milk with tentacle-perfect precision, he reflected that some targets were better left alive, especially when they could brew the perfect blend.